Alright, I'm going to make a video here real quick on creating a balanced team. I'm going to start with, first of all, this was my number one team. So, I'll show the different, she's a striker, she's a striker. He does splash damage. He's a striker. We'll say he's a striker with splash. And she's a healer. And then we have removes buffs. She's just a badass. This one does damage over time. And he heals himself for 75% of the damage that he causes and reduces the mana of the target for, I believe it's 40%. So minus mana. She also removes buffs. So this was my number one team, and I leveled up Grim. So now I am changing Grim out for her because both Sonya and Sabina both did, they removed buffs. And on my other team, I had 2 cards that lowered defense. So to make it more balanced now, I leveled up Grim to where I want him to be so I can add him to my number one team now. And so now what I have is a card that he's a striker with splash. She's a striker with splash. Same. Striker, healer. And minus defense for the opponent's team, obviously. And yeah, that's that. Something to keep in mind when you're creating your teams is this guy here is average. That's the mana generation speed. Okay, she's fast. This one is very fast, which also makes him very effective for a defense card, like a tank. This guy's average, and she's average. So I prefer to have more fast cards in the mix, which is when I had Sonya, she's fast. So that was something nice where I had, the majority of my cards were fast, or, fast, very fast. Yeah. So that's something that you have to take into consideration when you're creating your balanced team is you don't want to have all of your cards be slow or something like that. And having all of your cards as, say, average is, to me, not as good as having most or all of your cards fast. So something else that I do, usually what I do when I'm, like my favorite attack team outside of war, is I'll put Boltusk in here. He is a healer. Oops. Excuse me. Oops. Let's go to here. So he's a healer, and she's a healer. This is nice when you are doing, like, especially when you're raiding against teams that are larger, higher than you, much bigger power than you. So then you have this guy here who increases attack, and this guy here who lowers defense. So that can be very, very nice for hitting levels on the map or in quests that are extra difficult against people, because what you have here is you want to, if you're able to line it up properly, you go do Boltusk's special, which increases your attack. Grim next lowers the defense, and then your strikers can do extra damage, a lot more damage than they normally would. So that is that. And something else that you're getting when you're switching this out again is, so what you're increasing, what you're gaining in your damage amount you're losing a little bit in the mana production. So that is something that you need to take into consideration when you are creating your teams. So now you have almost all of your cards are average, which slows that down a little bit. So that's something that you can take into consideration. If you're going up against a team that's all fast, you might be at a disadvantage with your slower team. Whereas if they have, a similar mana speed setup, then it's gonna be a better pairing for combat. And the end.